want to offer a plug to Dana. For those of you who don't know it, Dana will custom write a song for you. All you need to do is reach out to him and have a conversation, and of course there will be payment involved because there's got to be an energy exchange. But this is truly a gift that Dana has, and he has written songs for several people in this congregation, and I really hope they all go on a CD because they are fabulous.
I'll explain how the finances work. You pay me $100 and I donate the entire thing to the church. So this is
it's a bargain.
As well.
And it is a priceless gift, and it's really far more valuable than that. But that is very generous. So thank you for sharing that gift. Good morning, everyone. I am so happy to be here today. February is one of my favorite months of the year because it's all about love. And so what else would I call my title today other than opening your hearts to love? We are meeting on the Sunday before Valentine's Day, so I would like to extend to you Happy Valentine's Day, but I would also like to extend it to a season of love, because we are born from love and we are created from love, so why celebrate it one day when we can celebrate it for an entire season, an entire month, an entire year, actually. And when I was thinking about our lesson, I got the thought, this really is a carry-on from what began at Christmas. Remember back at Christmas during Advent, we lit the candle that had love, and we activated love in our hearts as we prepared for the rebirth of the Christ presence that dwells within us. Shortly after that, I went shopping for something, and I saw Valentine's Day out, and I'm going, my goodness, Christmas hasn't even finished, and it's Valentine's Day. But then I had an aha moment, and I thought, yeah, some of this is a commercial thing because they're promoting the next holiday, but what if the people in retail know something that we don't, this from a higher level? What if they're carrying that light and love wave that we experienced at Christmas all the way into February? When it came at Christmas time, it came brightly in the midst of a dark night, and it was silent as silent night came. All of this hoopla and the marketing that comes from retail, there's been a gradual increase in crescendo in that energy building up to love. And so maybe there's more behind the marketing than we might think. All it takes is one shift of your mind in an instant to see things from a different perspective. Something that I was reminded of as I go through the 4T class that we are taking, it only takes an instant to change your mind, to change your life. It only takes an instant to move from feeling and experiencing fear to living love. One instant, one breath, one blink of an eye. When your intention is pure and it comes from your heart, it happens just like magic. I had forgotten about this until I got back into 4T, and then the experiments and the things that we've been doing in 4T reminded me of the magic and the grace and the beauty that comes from God. When all we do is surrender our fears and our egos, and we say yes to God and to Spirit, to whatever is being tugged on in our hearts. Just an instant. I know sometimes Valentine's Day may bring up difficult feelings for people. Let's face it, the movies make love into this thing that's not always real. Just as the rose that Bill received today had thorns on it, he had the reminder of the sweetness and the beauty of life. And Valentine's has that, and it is a great time to express love to our family, to our friends, to anybody that we are in relationship and connection with. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. It shouldn't be a romantic relationship. It's an intimate and sacred one with God. God first. That's another one of those things that I learned or remembered from taking 4T again, is Stretton says, God first, self second. And how many spiritual leaders and teachers and religions have we heard from where God is always in the forefront? But yet sometimes we forget. Even though we have a spiritual practice, it's easy to forget. This is why I love all of the reminders that come at Valentine's Day, because it reminds me, God first, love. We are created from love. We are born in love. Love is the reality. Anything else is an illusion and in reality. Maybe that's not a word, but that's my word. Love is the bridge between you and everything. Anything that you want, all you have to do is cross that bridge of love and you can have it. It may not happen in an instant. The mindset has to happen first before it will physically manifest. Some things manifest slowly because they are processed and there are things involved with that. And then other things do happen instantly. It just depends on what's being intended for manifestation. And Rumi is one of my favorite poets and writers, and I consider his books to be another one of the sacred texts. So please forgive me because you're going to see a lot of his quotes because Rumi has a lot of quotes about love, and those are also light posts and reminders for me. So, here is another Rumi quote that I hold dearly in my heart. You are the soul of the universe, and your name is love. The first time I saw that quote, I thought, yeah, right. But when you strip everything away, all that's left is love, and that is your name. And that is another thing that has been taught in our 4T class, is that love is who we are. And our journey is to remember that and to practice that and continue returning to it over and over and over again. That's all there is. There's love. The things that we may perceive to be bad, evil, whatever, God doesn't judge it because God doesn't have labels and descriptors. God only knows energy. Love is energy. We are energy. God just knows it is. And when we surrender energy to God, God says thank you, purifies it, and then returns us back to us, even brighter and lighter than it was given. And that is the natural flow of life and of love. I did not want to talk about relationships today because we've done a lot of that. I just want to talk about our relation to God and our relation with ourselves, because I have learned it's really easy sometimes to love other people, but I have a very difficult time loving myself. And for someone who does a lot of things and activities around love, it may surprise some of you that I still have a difficult time with that. But for me, loving everybody else becomes the distraction that keeps me from going within to my heart and loving others. That might happen with some of you as well. I don't know, because I don't know your thoughts, and frankly, I know what's in my head sometimes. I don't want to go anybody else's. One of my other favorite quotes that I have held in mind and in my heart to help me remember that I am love and that everybody else is love, even the person on 95 who just cut me off and almost hit me, I remember to bless that person, because really they've got something going on, but really what happened is they just gave me a gift. If I had a reaction Maybe I thought I wanted to say something or give physical action, but I stopped. I felt that trigger and activation in me and decided, you know what? I don't think I want to do that. I don't want to create the karma and the consequences that come from that. Some people think that karma comes from past lives and it takes a long time for it to catch up and they're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. I am learning that we're in a time of quickening and the consequence almost comes immediately. I have recently been having thoughts, and as soon as I have the thought, boom, there's the response. So whenever I have that reaction to someone and whenever I'm triggered, it's the call to love, it's the call to go back in. And it's a time to ask God, the angels, our guides, whoever it is that assists you, to help you find that place in your heart again. And if you can't find that place, you can always reach out to someone who will remind you. Not everybody is going to tell you all your faults and all your bad things. There are people out there too who are going to remind you of the beauty that you are and at the love that you are and the love that you have to give. So I invite to remind you of this wonderful commandment that Jesus says, I give to you, love one another as I have loved you. So must you love one another. Seems like it's a very easy commandment. And it's a little bit softer and a little bit gentle than the original 10. But it's also not for the weak of heart. How easy is it for us to stay stuck when it's easier not to do the inner work, to stay in that place of love or get back to that place? I often go back to this one to remind me to love myself first. And the more I love myself, the more I can love other people instead of it being the other way around. Okay, I was going to say, did I do that? Okay. I didn't have my notes. God is working on me not using as much technology and notes on the podium, so they didn't print up. Oops, now I'm getting happy with the clicker. Many of you know that I officiate weddings, and one of the things I really like about that job is I get to be in the vibration and the verbal expression of love almost all the time, because I'm either drafting the ceremony, I'm either talking to somebody about a ceremony, or I'm actually giving the ceremony. And in each one of those, I have a minister's address where I give people words of wisdom and a reminder of what it is that they're about to get into and take vows to, because I take the institution of marriage very seriously. Not in a bad way, not in a dumpy way when I do it, but I take it very seriously. And one of the scriptures that is read frequently, probably more than any other one that I have seen in 6 years, has been 1 Corinthians. And this is another one of those signposts and guideposts that brings me back home, into my heart, back into communication and right relationship with God. And this is not just for marriage relationships. This Bible passage works for everybody. It works for yourself. It works for your relationship with God. That's who it was originally intended for, was for you to connect and have that intimate connection with God in your heart. And the thing that always reminds me of God first is it will have some of the words in there, and then it will say, I have nothing, or I gain nothing. What a powerful reminder, God first. The other part that I like is it shows the hope, it shows the positive. It shows what love is. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others, and it is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered and keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in truth. God's truth. It always protects, always trusts, always loves, always perseveres. Love never fails. And when you think of working from your heart and being in your heart, that's true. When you return to love, there is no failure. You can only succeed when you are in a place of love. And by the way, failures is not always a bad thing. Sometimes that's just the catalyst and the stepping stone to lead you into the next thing that is successful or the next part of your evolution of your journey. Or maybe that might be to help the way that you help someone else that you're in relation and connection with. It's always a good reminder, God first. Oops. So, what are some of your steps to opening your heart to love? It's a gradual process. It's not always an easy thing to do. And this is an illustration that I have based on a meditation that was given to me by Linda Allen. We had talked after one of her writing classes, and she was describing to me how she felt like she had this metal plate on her heart that was there for protection, so she didn't have to feel the pain of being vulnerable and being fully open and exposed and expanded. And it was becoming very, very uncomfortable to her to have this plate on her heart because it was stuck, couldn't get bigger. Could get bigger around the sides and the back, but it had to go and expand all the way around. So I thought, I like that visual. I like that idea. It's very scary to take off that plate, throw it away, and put it where you can't pick it back up. It does us no good to pick our stories up and our whatevers. It doesn't serve us to pick it back up once we have released it and surrendered it to God. So the first picture is just to give you an example of what it may look like, what it may feel like, and this is what it looked like for me was on my heart. The second picture was when I started to do some internal work, where I started taking an inventory of what was going on in my inner landscape and what was the barrier to my heart. Because you see this other Rumi quote that I so love, your task is not to seek for love, but merely seek and find all barriers within yourself that you have built against it. That's the concrete walls, the armor, all that stuff. So you have to start taking it down little bit by little bit, because you can't, just take a concrete down wall just with one swoop. It takes a little bit of chipping and hammering to get to it. And in particular, in this one, I actually took the screws out in my mind, dropped them on the ground, and then I took the plate and started to move. Because it was rusty, it got kind of stuck there, so I could see a little bit of what was behind there. And when I saw what was behind there, just a little bit, it inspired me to take action, to even further do my forgiveness work, to really, really get that plate off of there. And it was scary because it's like, oh no, now I'm going to be vulnerable and everybody's going to walk on me. My heart's going to be trampled. Guess what? Took that plate off. It was very uncomfortable for a while, but you know what? Nobody trampled it because I didn't allow anybody to trample it. I didn't have that perception in my mind. I was just like, I'm just opening up to freedom. I'm opening up to what can come from having an open heart. Then the next picture you will see where I finally got my courage up and said, okay, it's coming off to never go back on. And once I did that, I was able to see all of the dimensions and the places that my heart could go. When I go into meditation, I can go this far and beyond. This just isn't a hill, this is a mountaintop, reaching up into the galaxy with the stars, and there are even more things up in there that you can't see fully in the picture that are glued behind the heart. But when I go into meditation, I follow that little entranceway through my heart and just go wherever it will go, as far as it will go. And it's amazing. The peace, that comes from it, the freedom that comes from that. And it helps you get stronger. And once you start doing that, it can't be trampled on. It can't be broken because it's energy. That's all it is, it's energy. The physical heart in your body is a vessel, and it may have malfunctions, but it's just a container. You can still expand beyond it and use it to help you expand it. So those are just some of the baby steps. Okay, this is fun. Okay, trigger happy with the pointer. So this is already a summary of some of the things that I've already talked about, but I'm just going to briefly go through it. So the first thing you want to do is put God first in your life, in all of your relationships, surrendering your thoughts and your actions and your mind to the Christ presence, to God, to Creator, to Spirit, whatever you would like to name a higher power. Surrender. There is such peace and freedom in sweet surrender. It's not a giving up of anything. It's a gaining and taking on of something far greater. Next step, take an honest inventory. Sometimes it's really, really hard to look at the parts of yourself that you don't like. I have parts of me that I still haven't discovered or I'm only scratching the surface of. But I'm finally ready to look at them. And when you are ready, it will happen. And then you will see with clarity the things that you can do to change, those instant moment changes that you can make. As you're doing the self-inventory, it's really, really important to give yourself self-care, self-nurturing, however that might look. Lots of hot bubble baths, massages, meditation, doing artwork, going for walks, playing music, whatever it is that you need to take care of yourself, because you know what? No one else is going to take care of you in the way that you need to be taken care of except for you. And it's okay to ask for help. You can ask for help depending on what the help is from a family member, your spouse. If it's a really deep thing, go and see a minister or a counselor. But anything that can help you to move forward and expand, to take care of yourself, is super, super important as you open your heart and expand it. That is what helps give you the strength and the foundation so that it won't be trampled on. The other part that goes along with the self-care and the nurturing is to accept and embrace the love in all parts of yourself that come up. Don't judge them, don't criticize, and don't fall into shame and blame or guilt. I don't have guilt up there. Those are things that close up our heart and put the armor back on. And in my case, now that the armor is gone, I have veils that drop in. And I can now feel the veils as soon as they come in to my being. And I'm going, oh, great. This is not good timing, but dang it, now I'm going to have to do some more work. So I just try to release the judgment, try not to beat myself up, and say, okay, this is what it is. And the other side, whatever is on that side of the shame, the guilt, the blame, all that, on the other side of that, it's anchored and rooted in love. Whatever you're experiencing in one way, its opposite is its anchor. It may be invisible and you don't know it's there, but it's always there supporting you. Surrender to God all your fears and anything that is not love. Not always easy to do. Ease into it. Gets easier as you do it. Feel and see the God love light that dwells in others and every living being. A lot of times when you shift into just looking at somebody else's light, especially that person who has triggered you, and just look a couple of layers beneath the surface of the skin, and you can see and feel the warmth of their heart, the light of their soul, which is the light of God that lives in each person. And when you can finally see that person as that light being, your whole world shifts and changes just by looking at somebody differently. When I have difficulty looking at someone as a soul, I will get a picture of them, or I will draw a picture of them and put angel wings on them. And when I put angel wings on them or hold up an angel to them, I instantly have that shift that I'm desiring. Your guides and your teachers, they're here to help you. The next thing is forgiveness of self and others, and we've already been talking about that. Self-forgiveness is so important. Again, forgiveness of other people, it is helpful for your relationship with them, but what that does is it changes you. It doesn't change the other person. You can't change the other person, but you can change how you perceive them and how you interact with them. And it's another one of those things that sometimes it's easier to forgive someone else than it is to forgive yourself. I went for years forgiving other people, but then not able to forgive my own self for the things that I did. And guess what happened? I went into Groundhog Day. I kept repeating the same patterns and cycles over and over and over again. And I'm finally like, one day I'm like, I am so done with this. I want to get out of Groundhog Day. So I began to forgive myself. And again, it's something that takes a lot of nurturing and self-care and a lot of self-love. And that is also sometimes hard to do, because sometimes our ego is like, well, you're very loving and you've forgiven yourself for everything. But you know, it's one of those things where Jesus said, forgive 77 times, not 7. Because things come up. You do the work and then something happens and you have to do it again. It's just part of the practice. And each time that act of forgiveness of self and others is done, your heart expands. It gets bigger and brighter. And who doesn't want that? Next one is, and that kind of goes with some of the other steps we've been doing, naming and sharing your perceived defects of personality to self and to another person. So it's one thing to say, okay, this is what I have going on, this is the part of me that I don't really like, this is the part I don't care about, and this is a pattern that I have, this is something that I do. That's really great and dandy, and it's wonderful. But when you name it and then tell somebody else about it, there's great magic and great power in that. Because you've just speared that fear. Once you name it and then you let somebody else know about it, it loses its power. Now, this is not something that you do just to anybody, Joe Blow on the street. You don't want to do that, because this is a sacred process and it's a very heart intimate thing for you. So when you want to name that to someone, you would want to talk to a trusted friend who can keep it confidence, or to a minister or counselor, whatever. It's part of that self-care I was talking about. But there really is power in naming it, but not taking it back on, but just saying, from observe point, oh, okay, I see you right there. This is what you are. Okay, anger, jealousy, envy. Yeah, I have all those. I have lack, but I don't give them power anymore. I just say, thank you very much for sharing. I see you. I'm going to give you a hug. Because when all of those parts come up, they're crying for attention. That's your inner child or an inner part of you that is looking for love and for attention. I just give it a hug. And then sometimes we go out to play. Sometimes playing with art. Sometimes we go out to a museum. Sometimes we go to an amusement park. Sometimes it's out to the playground. We go play. And my little inner child parts like to have glitter and wands and all of that. You guys know that, and the glitter fairy. But anyways, whatever it is, and sometimes, I will even look at my pictures of my children and me holding them, or pictures of my mom holding me. And it's very, very helpful. And I have a teddy bear at home. This is my Reiki bear that helps me with Reiki, but When I need self-love, I also hug my teddy bear. Make sure that you are communing with God, meditating and praying, spending time in nature. All of this will strengthen your connection with God. And then also, create outside of your normal, regular work. I know that we are creating every moment of the day, every breath we take, everything we do is a prayer, and it is a form of creation. But sometimes you just need to do something a little different than what is your day-to-day job. The ultimate goal is to one day that what you're passionate about is, what you love to do is your work. Work and play should be the same, but sometimes it's not always that way. You can turn it into that, but just create. Create anything. It doesn't matter if it looks good in an art gallery or in a store. It doesn't matter. As long as it's an expression of yourself and your creation with God, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. Just love it and create. I'm going to skip this power of meditation on love because of the time. I just wanted to leave you with a couple more thoughts. As the sunshine brings out the colors and beauty, so the light of love brings out Christ's virtues in people. So love, 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 and love some more. And that is words of wisdom from our beloved Myrtle Femar. And then I would like to share this poem with you. I have a book called Living in the Heart, and it is by Drunvalo Melchizedek. And this book's been out for a while, and it's been in my library. When we created the world, it was lonely being the only one, and so I made two. And then there was you. You were so beautiful with your eyes of innocence, but I loved you from afar and yet so very near. And I loved you in ways you could not comprehend. You didn't know I was watching through the eyes of every person that you met. Now you could hear my voice in the wind. You thought that the earth was just dirt and rocks. You didn't realize it was my body. When you slept, we would meet in your heart and make love with our spirits as one. We would birth new worlds with such passion. But when you were awake, you remembered nothing. You thought it was just another dream. It was just another day alone. But in your heart, I await you. Love, my love forever. For the truth of love and oneness will always be. Our love is the matrix of all that is. Remember, sweet one, in your heart, I will always await thee in the place that is small. Thank you, everyone. And I wish you happy Valentine's Day and a happy love month.